Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of the UK Connection, alongside, as always, the Bray dog himself, Mr. Simon Bray, and that not so random guy from Scotland, Steven Reid. He's not random at all. The shining star of Scotland. There you go. What's up,
Yeah, which,
gentlemen?
which probably makes me quite random.
I don't know enough about Scotland to be honest to say one way or the other, but I would assume you're a pretty notable guy there. So no, not at
Absolutely
all.
not. But I'm happy with that. That'll do.
Okay, well, hey, that works. That means something, right? So, before we start talking about some of our favorite instrumental non-soundtrack albums today, these are albums without vocals, ladies and gentlemen. We have a last German beer in the collection to drink today, right? From our good friend who sent us a nice selection of stuff. A couple of them we absolutely loved. One we universally didn't really care for, and another one that a third of us kind of like, the other two-thirds were kind of like, it's okay, right? I think today is going to be a good one because I've had it before. I know it's good. So, but I haven't had it from actual big bottle from Germany. At least I don't think so. I don't know. Anyway, who wants to talk about today's? Who did not speak last week, last episode?
I did, so I'm being silent for a change.
All right, I'll do this one then. All right. Seeing as I've had this
I
before.
organized this for you. You know, it was me that did all the hard work apart from David. It was me, all about me.
Okay, well, you can talk about this one,
No, I
Simon.
don't want to. I've done the work. I've put it
Oh,
in.
you've done the work. Okay, I see. Thank you
I get where
anyway.
you're going. Okay,
Thank
all
you,
right.
David, for
So
all of Simon's hard work.
gotcha. All right. So what we are drinking today is a Hofbrau Oktoberfest beer. It's probably not how you say it, but that's how I say it, Oktoberfest beer. This is from the Hofbrau Munchen Brewing Company. This is hold on, 6.3%, and this is a big boy. This is a big boy. What else? The rest of it's in German. I'm not even going to bother, but it pours kind of like this. It's going to be light in color, if I remember correctly, kind of golden hue. Yes, indeed. Oh, Stephen, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. As I was saying just before we came on here, when I poured this and then brought it through from the room, I poured it and the head was roughly somewhere here. I ended up catching it in my hand. It's wondering about this. So, yes, beware.
All right, what do we think? Well, geez. All right, well,
It's nice. It's better than the smoky one. That was, oof, yuck,
yeah,
it's
this is
nice.
good. This is like I remember it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's lovely. Quite clean, quite crisp. Very nice.
Yeah. This is more like a lighter version of an Oktoberfest beer. A lot of the ones that we get here that are imported from Germany are more on the Marzen side, the little darker side. This is nice. I kind of like this style. It's kind of lagerish, which maybe why Simon isn't 100% into it. But yeah, I think this is quite good.
I was just going to say for a 6.3, this is dangerously easy to drink. This is
Yes,
this,
that's a good point.
on an evening this would be fall over juice.
Yeah.
Already thinking how much Pete will ramble towards the end of this particular episode of 6.3 of that big boy.
Yeah. Trying to talk about instrumental
No,
music.
not while I'm drinking, Simon. Thank you.
Timing is everything, as we'll probably point out later.
Yes.
So,
No, this is quite good. This is quite good.
Yep. I like this.
yeah.
Thank you again,
What
David.
would you give it in terms of accept albums?
Oh wow! In terms of accept albums,
Trying to keep it in Germany now.
See what you did there. That's a good one.
yeah, I'm going to say that this is Russian roulette. It tastes like lots of beers, but I really quite like it. But it doesn't necessarily stand out in the way that I quite like it to. So it's Russian roulette for me.
That's a great choice. Yeah. It's one of the comeback albums. Pick a comeback album. Any
Stalingrad.
Stalingrad. One that you think, oh, it's really good while I'm having it, and then you're probably not going to go back to it for a while, and then you're going to go back to like Peter's and think, oh, that's pretty good actually. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was going to pick Stalingrad as well.
Oh, there we go.
It's very solid. It's yeah, when you go back and revisit, you're like, yeah, this is a really good album. And then you don't listen to it for 2 years. And then when you do just
That's it.
back and
Exactly.
forth, You're like, yeah, so this is a very solid drinkable beer. Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right. So we have picked out four instrumental classics in our view. No singing, any genre, non-soundtrack, right? So I know I said to everyone, all however many thousand people watched on our last episode, that I was not going to pick certain albums that you got five. Why,
When
did I say
have
something
we
different?
ever done four of anything?
Did I say
You did
four?
before,
You
yeah,
did.
yeah. How much have
Well,
you drunk
I
already?
only had two sips of that. How is that possible? Anyway,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I think you've been pre-gaming here. I think you've had a beer before we. I think you were out at the trailer park before we came in here.
Sorry, I meant five. I don't know where I got four. Yeah, we never do four of anything. I don't know what that's all about. That's that damn Four Fusion Friday show. That's screwing me all up, man. That's what it is. Anyway, I did tell everyone that I was not going to pick from stuff that probably are my absolute favorites because I've talked about them before. Well, I decided not to go that route, and I'm going to talk about my five favorite instrumental albums of all time. And if you've heard me talk about them before, I'm going to talk about them again. I'll try and say some different things about them, but more importantly, we've never heard their choices. That's what I want to hear. So, Simon, should we do two, two, and one? Three trips around? Okay, Simon, what do you got for your first two selections?
Two, two, and one. That's five, isn't it? That's the amount of
Two, two, and one.
the
Yes.
amount that we've got going for us, isn't it? Okie dokie. I can play your numbers game. I can do that, and I'm going to go straight in. With the Man United of instrumental albums. I'm going to go with Camel. Yay! Whoop whoop. Who doesn't love Camel? Music inspired by the Snow Goose. Yes. Ah, awesome. When I used to be active on Twitter, which was, sorry, X, which was, a while ago, I do remember saying, "Hey everyone, I'm currently relaxing in the middle of the Mediterranean on a boat, listening to the Snow Goose," and I got more likes than anything ever. So clearly, there's a constituency of people out there that like slash love Camel. And the thing about Camel and my other choice is that it's just so English.
Yeah.
You know, it's so very, very English. Let's bring in the notes of truth, shall we? Let's do that. What did I actually physically write? Because occasionally I can be asked to do these kind of things. It's I was listening. To be honest, I was listening to it earlier today when about an hour ago when I was walking the dog, and it was a completely different experience in the dark than it was in the light. So the other morning I was having a walk, and it's relatively green and verdant where I live, particularly at the moment because it's peeing down all the time. And there's hills and there's farmyard and stuff, and you think, oh my God, this is just like so England, so English here. It's rolling hills and all that kind of stuff. I'm listening. Oh, it's just fantastic. And it's one of those albums that even back in the I didn't get this when it came out. I was far too young when this initially came out. Much too young. But it's what. Don't look at me like that, Stephen. It's one of those albums that I remember listening to with the big curly headphones.
I remember.
Yeah, yeah, big curly headphones coming out of the thing, listening to it in the dark, and yeah, sorry, yeah, sorry, yeah. So it's really it's the guitar playing is great. The other thing about it is like it's about as subversive as something that's not very subversive at all, in the sense that it's I don't want to say nice, but it is nice. What I mean? It's in a good kind of way. It's not transgressive or anything like that. You've got the interplay between the guitar and the keyboards is just kind of like, oh, I like that. That is so good. These people can clearly play, and yes, there are vocals on. I think there's vocals on practically everything I've chosen, but in the sense that it's not singing sentences.
Yeah, vocalizations. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Vocal, absolutely, vocalization. And but you listen to this now, and I mean this in a really good way because it sounds great. It's like having a meal made by a Breville toast maker or something like that. It's a sandwich maker. Sorry, it's like you know what I'm talking about, don't you, Stephen? It's very much like
Absolutely do.
like delving into the past because I'm sure Pete's going to say there is shit out here like this now, but not in Simon World there isn't. You know,
There's
uh,
there's a charm about that album that I think is undeniable. It's not my favorite Camel album. It's definitely up there. It's a top three for sure. And I
yeah,
love your comment about how English it sounds. And isn't it weird how like mostly instrumental music can sound like English, even though there's no like vocal with the accent and all that sort of thing. There's something
it's that
about hearing the flute and Latimer's guitar playing. It's just very English.
very pastoral, isn't it? It's
Yeah, yeah.
hey, talking about pastoral stuff, kids. I was gonna go with I was thinking the big guns earlier, and I kind of still am. And I was gonna go with the really big guns and say, hey, look, tubular bells, yay! And I thought, well, everyone knows that, don't they? What can the Bray Dog add about that? Probably, probably not much. Am I right? But it's a classic. It really is. And I've got the orchestral tubular bells as well. I like Mike Oldfield more than I thought. More than I thought. He's one of those artists that you think, oh, I've got a lot of that. I didn't realize because it's been a very long time. That's partially one of the reasons why, the human content generator, the Bray Dog, chose this. But then something happened, and which made me really, really happy. Somebody, and it's not you, Stephen. It's not you. No, it's Pete. Somebody sent me the original broadcast of the orchestral Hergest Ridge. Somebody sent me that. Oh, that was you, Pete, wasn't it? And
Yes.
I have been obsessively listening to this. I really, really have. And no, you can't have a tight 10 minutes review of it, Pete. No, you can't, because I don't know what to say about it. Other than that, it's really, really good. Really, it's got Steve Hillage on guitar. It's so good. It's so again, so pastoral and so very, 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 very English. I don't live anywhere near Hergest Ridge. I really don't. So, a couple of 100 miles away. Is it Somerset? I want to say it's in Somerset, somewhere like that. But again, I walk out onto the hills just over there and think, I feel good about being English and not in a I'm going to put my flag up and beer and that kind of way. I feel good about it. I live in a beautiful place. It's a really, really beautiful place, and I'm feeling it. Listening to this whilst I'm moving on. But this is the Dog's Danglies, and it kind of like just kind of snuck out, didn't it? In Sept Was it September? I think Pete it came out in
Yeah, it
September.
just came out this fall. Yeah.
It just kind of like, hello, here I am. Hello, hello. You can buy me if you want, and it's really, really good, and I really like the kind. I, I'm not you. I can't. But the guitar's kind of fuzzy and kind of melodic as well. They're doing lots of things, and
Village.
yeah, exactly. And then when they after about 18 minutes of part one, they start banging the bells. You think, yes, everything makes sense now. You can see the connection between all the previous stuff and all the things that was kind of going to go on. So it's just really, really awesome. Go out and buy it, people.
So how do I title this video so people also know it's a review of that brand new album?
I don't know,
Because
but
I know now I'm not going to get a separate review from, so I might as well take advantage of this somehow, right?
thank you very much for sending it to me because it was lost for years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Lost for a very long time. And David Bedford's on so many great things. It's just really, really lovely listen, and I appreciate it being given to me, and I really, really appreciate it. It's actually in the CD player over there.
Cool. Wow.
Not in that CD player there, because obviously I've got more than one CD player in this room, but it's in the CD player that I use the most. So it's awesome, as indeed is the actual Hergest Ridge album as well that gets kind of forgotten. And yet, in my research, it was number one here in the UK for 3 weeks, apparently. So yeah, lot off. Stephen, tell us about your choices.
I'm just thinking, so music from the Snow Goose, there's the album to burn your mouth to, because it's like the Breville toast thing, sandwich maker. I like that. And I need to ask a question now, because somebody in the comments is going to ask this question. You've got more than one CD player in that room, okay? And you said this is the one, point to it, you can point, that you use most, okay? So what's the one you don't use most for?
For when I want to pop the CDs into a different CD player. Actually, the one that I use the least is the one that's really loud that gets me in trouble. You know,
Is
that's
that
the
not what is that not what the volume's for?
no, no,
Okay.
it really isn't. Yeah, that's the older one that sometimes doesn't play quite as well. But it's the one that's
I've
a
now
tiny,
got visions of CD player number two having a volume knob that doesn't move, that only has the gauge loud.
it's the one with the very old CD player that occasionally skips, whereas that one works perfectly.
I just know that somebody's going to ask, so I thought I would do the needful and ask while we're actually recording. So there you go.
I'm not getting rid of it when I can have
No,
two.
no, whoa, I'm not. Whoa, whoa, I wasn't asking you to get rid of
You know, I've got
it. Genuinely
obviously
interested.
I've got a third one upstairs as
And now that
well.
you've asked the question, he's answered. There's still going to be people that are going to type it in the comments because they don't pay attention to what we actually say. So,
Who are you? I don't know what.
Yes, there is that, to be fair. Right, okay. So I pay attention to you chaps, okay? So I've brought honourable mentions, and my honourable mentions I've brought because I've spoken about them before on different shows. So I thought I can't do them because that's not what Pete's doing. That's not the show we're doing. So I'm going to go through these first. So this is what I'm not going to talk about, okay? I'm not going to talk about Heaven and Hell by Vangelis, okay? Now, if you want to hear a random Scots person talk about this album, go and watch In the Prog Seat bands and artists that start with the letter V, okay? And I'll be an idiot that looks like me.
it seems like forever ago that we did that. Probably
Doesn't it?
wasn't that long ago.
Yes. What? Hang on, it's a while now.
It's probably 20, was it 2024?
Must be in around there.
Yeah.
Must be. Okay. So this is the debut from Cab. Okay. You can see the names of the people involved here. I was turned on to this album and banned by Four Fusion Friday. Go watch Four Fusion Friday, everybody, because I'm not a Fusion fan. And I found a Fusion album and band that I love because I watched that show. If you want to hear me talk about that, and all of us talk about that, go and watch the episode on Four Fusion Friday about Cab. Okay. I'm also not going to talk about Strangitude by the Osric Tentacles. Okay, I love the Osric Tentacles, but they're one of those bands that I don't need an awful lot of them because it kind of
Yeah.
all seems
Yeah.
a bit like. So this has always been my favourite, and I've only got another three or four. I've heard maybe seven or eight, and I like them all. I like everything, but Strangitude, other than being difficult to say, is a really good album. Always been my favourite. Always liked it. Same again in the prog seat, bands that start with O. And the last one I'm not going to talk about is Mind's Eye by Vinnie Moore. This is a Shrapnel, or over here, Roadrunner album. This is Shred. This is my favourite album from that kind of genre, that oeuvre, that. If you want to hear me talk about that, then you can go and watch the album ranking that myself and George did on Shrapnel Records. So, what am I
Boy,
going to talk
plug
about?
central here. Holy cow.
Stephen,
There you go.
Stephen,
See,
Stephen, Stephen. Hold that album cover up again once more, my friend.
Yeah, it's a great album cover.
That is awesome.
Yeah, it is.
and it's one of those album covers that I would suggest if you like instrumental guitar music, it actually does tell you roughly what this is going to sound like. It's
Yeah.
moody and it's mystical, and yet at the same time, it's fiery as hell. It's really good.
I am
Love
feeling.
the
I don't know exactly what that sounds like.
Yeah,
The
it's
band
really
is I wasn't going to talk about this album, but Vinnie Moore, Tommy Aldridge, Andy West on bass, and Tony McAlpine on keyboards. This is just absolutely first rate. But
And you know, I had that on vinyl back in the day and I never replaced it on CD. I currently don't even own that. I need to rectify that.
love that album so much.
Yeah, I think that
So
and Tony McAlpine's first, I think I need to have. I don't have either one of them anymore.
that's a great album too. Yes, and that also I could have shown that, but that Mind's Eye was my number one from that show, so I thought I'll bring that because I actually looked through the Shrapnel list from the show that myself and George did and thought I'd love to talk about some of these again, but they've already had quite a long time in the spotlight, so let's just do one of them and move on. So I'm going to start with something I would suggest it's really obvious for people who like instrumental music and guitar music but haven't really gone very deep with it. I'm going to go Surfing with the Alien by Joe Satriani from 1987. It's actually not my favourite Satch album, but I went pure here because I really like Flying in a Blue Dream. I really like Time Machine. He sings on them both, so I didn't choose them. He doesn't sing on all of them. He sings on two tracks on one, and I think one or two on the other. But to me, that was enough for it to say, no, no, I'll go surfing with the Alien. I mean, it was definitely his breakout album. I would suggest it was, and maybe still is, the most influential, famous, well-known guitar instrumental album. And I would suggest that's because Satch is he's comfort food. I would suggest he wasn't then because it was groundbreaking then for an album like this to kind of cross over into the mainstream. But what I really like about Satch is what people who are maybe guitar instrumental purists don't. He writes a really catchy song, and then he plays the guitar line where the vocal melody would go,
Yeah.
and then he plays the guitar solo where the guitar solo will go, and the playing all the way through is absolutely phenomenal. But it's not just all flash and tricks and flicks all the way through. He's genuinely writing songs. He just happens to not sing on them or have a singer sing on them. That sounds like I'm talking this down, and I'm really not. Ice Nine, Always With You, Always With Me, or Always With Me, Always With You, even Lords of Karma, the title track, you get Satch Boogie. These are Satriani standards still for a reason. Absolutely groundbreaking album and fantastic. Change of pace for my second one. I'm going to go, here we go, it's a nice album cover. Okay, this is Neil Campbell, and this is Faldum. I presume I'm pronouncing that correctly, probably not. From 2022, and he self-released this. There we go, nice picture of the people on it. Neil is a Liverpudlian, mostly acoustic guitarist. Sometimes crosses over into kind of electric guitar and various things like that. He is one of these really prolific guys. You tend to get one or two albums, sometimes a little bit more every year from Neil. And it's really difficult to kind of pigeonhole him and say exactly what he does and exactly what he doesn't do, because some of it leans into classical. This album, for example, has a bit of cello on it, a bit of violin on it, lots of acoustic guitar playing on it, but there's also some programming and some drum loops and various things like that that are on it too. He sometimes moves into more avant-garde kind of styles. He is progressive in places, and I would suggest that this has some gentle fusion. It's not fiery and crazy. It's more about atmosphere and mood and tone, which is a theme to the other albums I've certainly chosen. But he's a fantastic guitar player, understated at times because it's not electric and it's not fiery. But he's also a really good composer and a really good arranger. And this is the interesting thing for me when we start to move into instrumental music, because myself and yourself, Pete, and George and Eric have had this conversation often where I sometimes can admire what's going on and think, wow, that's amazing, and yet not absolutely love it, because if it's all chops, I get a bit lost. I get a point where I kind of go, I get it. I need a song now. I need somebody to write something that actually has a hook or a catch or something for me. And this is the sort of thing that I gravitate towards, where there's really tasty playing on here, but it's not necessarily about the tasty playing. So yes, this is Neil Campbell, and this is Faldum. He's had loads of albums, and they're all worth checking out.
Yeah, for folks who want to read a little bit more about these albums, Stephen and John Newdorf have reviewed a lot of his last few, a handful of releases over the last couple of years on our webzine, seatranquility.org. So go check it out over there if you want to know a little bit more in depth about what some of these albums were all about. So cool. All right. So I let one of my images fly a little earlier before, but I'll get to that in a second. Yes.
I have to. Is that the album you're going to talk about?
No, I'm going to wait a second for it.
Okay. Well, when you get to that one, I have a comment.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. My first one, released in 1971. One of my favorite albums of all time. Probably one of my favorite fusion albums of all time. If it's not my number one, it's probably my number two. It's by a band called the Mahavishnu Orchestra. Perhaps you've heard of them. Kind of a super group in the jazz world, although this music does not sound like jazz at all. What you call it, it's called fusion, but I don't know. This is like some out there music. John McLaughlin on guitars, main songwriter, of course, formerly of Miles Davis and the Tony Williams Lifetime and lots of other things before this band. We got Jan Hammer, a very young Jan Hammer on keyboards. We've got Jerry Goodman on violin, formerly of a band called The Flock. The great Billy Cobham on drums, also ex of Miles Davis's band and lots of other things, and a fairly unknown bass player named Rick Laird. Together, this lineup created this album called The Intermounting Flame, their debut. They also did a follow-up called Birds of Fire. They had a live album that came out after that. Then they kind of broke up, and McLaughlin put together a whole new band featuring Jean-Luc Ponty and Miranda Michael Walden, and that's a story for another day. But this album, I remember the first time I heard this. This actually might be the first like real fusion album I ever listened to. And I've told this story before. I was in my second year in college or university, as you guys would say, and it was an afternoon where I had no classes and I was just hanging around my off-campus apartment. And one of my neighbors next door, who was a deadhead and liked to kind of smoke a lot of the funny stuff at the time, he came and knocked on my door. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm just kind of hanging out. I don't have any classes this afternoon." He goes, "You want to come next door and listen to this cool new record that I picked up?" I'm like, "Sure." So I went next door. We did a little of that funny stuff that he had, and he put this album on, and it was like music I had never heard before. First of all, this guitar player, John McLaughlin, is ridiculously technical and ferocious and fiery. And you've got the violin, you got the keyboard, the electric piano, you got this amazing drummer. The music is like not really jazzy. It's kind of like Indian influenced. It's very angry and raucous, at other times beautiful. Songs like Meeting of the Spirits, The Noonward Race, Vital Transformation, Dance of Maya. I mean, all this kind of just crazy stuff going on. Some of, like I said, some of it's very angry and heavy. Some of it's kind of funky. Some of it's more like acoustic natured. Jazz it really isn't, or maybe it's just a new kind of jazz in 1971. I don't know. But an amazing, amazing record that I've heard hundreds and hundreds of times over the years, and it never gets old. It's still my favorite album from the band, and I love it quite a bit. And again, if you love like progressive rock, we're going to talk about instrumental music, guitar shred stuff, prog rock stuff, classical, jazz, whatever today. This is kind of like a mix of all that. And at the time, very, very unique and very groundbreaking. So yeah, the Intermounting Flame, the debut from Mahavishnu Orchestra, is my first selection today. My second will be the image that I already showed, which should come as no surprise to Mr. Lemmy because he knows that I love this album just as much as he does. This is the last full-on electric album from the band known as Return to Forever, featuring Chick Corea on keyboards, Stanley Clarke on bass, Lenny White on drums, and a very young Al DeMille on lead guitar. And I know you had a question, Stephen, so.
It's not a question so much, and you have managed to segue into the comment that I was going to make perfectly, because you've said that George Lemmy loves this album as much as you. And I know he does. And do you know how I know he does? I know he does because sometimes you end up doing a little bit of research about what you're going to talk about and various things. And I sometimes use Rate Your Music to have a look and see discographies and timelines and all that kind of stuff. And if you use Rate Your Music, you can find reviews by a certain Mr. Lemmy under a different username, and his avatar on that site, well, it's that album cover. However, anyone that's and it's a select band, sorry, Uncle Simon, Bray Dog, who's in the proxy chat will know that George loves to manipulate an image. He loves to capture things from shows and put them up in the most inappropriate times. Always gets a laugh. His avatar on Rate Your Music is that album cover, but with his head in exactly the correct place on the cover, and it just makes it look even more upright like this. And it's just honestly the first time I saw
So
it. Not
George
really,
Lemmy is the romantic warrior on that horse, right? Yeah, there you go. Okay. That's funny. I've never seen that. You got to grab a shot of that. Or maybe I should just go find it myself. But yeah.
as soon as I saw that, I thought, oh, look, there's George.
Yep. I mean, this is a ridiculously good album. It's not a good album. It's a great album. It's an immense album. First of all, the songwriting is ridiculously great. All these tracks on here, as like complex and epic as they are it's like one earworm after another. And you got the whole band is taking part in writing these compositions. Some are co-written by a few, some are solo compositions, and the playing is off the charts, and it's just majestic. It's beautiful. Some of DeMiola's guitar solos when he's playing electric are just ridiculously shreddy. When he's doing acoustic, it's lovely. You got Stanley Clarke on the upright bass, on the electric bass. Lenny White is off the charts. Then you got Chick on electric piano and Moog synthesizer and all these different keyboards and acoustic piano. It's just amazing. And every song is an absolute legendary classic for me. I mean, we just, God, Duel of the Jester and the Tyrant is so good. I love the title track. It's just absolutely gorgeous. The melody's great. Stuff like Sorceress, Medieval Overture, Magician, Majestic Dance, all great. A little funky in spots too. To me, this is probably this and the Mahavishnu Orchestra lineup, the two lineups on both of these albums, for me are two of the best lineups of any bands, any style of music in the history of music for me. And I know that's saying a lot because now we're talking, lofty, the greatest bands ever. It doesn't get much better than the virtuoso musicianship and songwriting capabilities in these two bands. And this album to me is just, and it's a great, great sounding album. One of the best sounding albums released under the fusion genre tag ever, in my opinion. So yeah, Romantic Warrior from Return to Forever. Did I say what year this came out? This was what, 1975? 76, actually, February, late 76. So yeah, that's my next pick.
Oh, I feel so inadequate. But hey, such is yeah, welcome to my world. I've also realized I missed a massive trick when you said, "Hey Simon, which Accept album is that beer?" Well, that the Accept album really is Headbangers Symphony by Wolf Hoffman. Yeah, Wolf. And I don't know about you, but one of my favorite things in the English language is blending.
Blended?
Blending, where you slide two words together. So this is Wolf Hoffman,
Well,
and
Hoffman.
Wolf Hoffman has made a couple of classical leaning albums. Look at him leaning there. He like he likes to lean, and being the completist that I am, I thought, oh God, I'm gonna have to buy these. I know, and this is my favorite. This is my favorite of the two. So it's got some Beethoven on it, which basically is Teutonic Terror, which is interesting. It's got Night on Bald Mountain, which everybody has a go at. It's got a double cello concerto in G minor, of course, but with guitars. You know what I mean? Have you ever wondered what a Swan Lake sounds like with if is it is no, well, here you go. Here you go. And it's air on a G string, but it's got so much stuff. And I love it when it's things like Je crois entendre encore. Ah, that's of course written by George Bizet. Yeah, I love it when shit like that happens. I mean, it's easy to take the piss out of this. It really is. But he clearly loves his classical music.
Oh,
Very very clearly does, and it's really really good. And so much so that on the one of the Accept box sets that I've got, he performed it at Wacken, didn't he, as well?
Right.
Wolf can do whatever he wants because he really is Accept these days, isn't he? But it's basically, heavy metal classical music and heavy metal and classical music are intertwined, are they not?
is he
Throughout the,
playing all electric on there? Or is he doing acoustic on there as well?
I'm guessing it's all electric because there's other people on there,
I don't think God, has he ever played any acoustic on any Accept album?
Well,
Not
well,
that I'm
just
aware of, no.
I don't know if you can tell who's in charge here, but can you see that? You see that?
So is it full band renditions then? So does it sound like, for
It,
example, if you put on a Metal Heart album, there are things where you go, oh, I know what that is, and it's a classical piece. Is it just like that across the whole album?
uh, Pete Baltaz is on. It's got drum. It's got drums. It's got bass, and then it's just makes you go, oh, this is so cool.
Hmm.
It's like popular classics in a heavy metal style, and um, you just can't go wrong with that.
I'd like to hear that because I've often thought I would like to hear him in like kind of like an instrumental, kind of like neoclassical setting because he's such a great guitar player. And sometimes, there's great guitar work on these Accept albums, but it's kind of like it's a little formulaic, right? It's like he
Yeah,
doesn't stretch out much. So I've often wondered what it would be like to just have him just go off.
I'll tell you what.
I,
Go on, sorry.
I was going to say, what I was going to say was, I think it gets a lot, because since they've come back, it has been by admittance, even though it's admittance from band members who've left, a formula, and a formula they are very good at. I mean, I don't know, I've got
Oh
all those
yeah,
albums. I like those albums, and I've seen them since they came back and really enjoyed it. I think we forget how groundbreaking some of that stuff was
Yeah.
when he was first doing it. When because myself and Simon reviewed the Saxon and Dirk Schneider shows across the UK not all that long ago, and Udo did come out and say we're going to play the album that kind of set the musical tone for the next 10, 20 years, and he wasn't joking. When you really bring it back to that kind of neoclassical power metal kind of thing, it stems from there. Nobody else was really doing that
No.
in that way until they came along. So yeah. Anyway, I go off at a tangent.
Well, that's not like you, Stephen Scott. I tell
No,
you, well, whilst I talk about my next choice, why don't you just go to Amazon and see if you can rustle up some Wolf Hoffman into your life? Because
I,
I don't know about you, crazy kids, but I like to. He's dying to do it, but he's not going to do it because I've mentioned it. Anyhow, I don't know about you crazy kids, but I like to go and see artists and think, oh God, he or she is absolutely awesome. I wonder what they've got out. Wonder what they've got out there. You know, has the bass player ever made a solo album? That kind of thing, yeah. And then I go and buy it and find it's absolutely terrible. But that's not important right now. What isn't terrible is Nita Strauss's um, Controlled Chaos or Controlled Chaos, as I like to call it. Yeah. Um, I remember. I
I'll
remember
bet that's really good. She's a really good player.
he is absolutely shit hot. I remember when saying, "Oh, look at that. We like that, don't we?" I remember when she started releasing the advanced singles, as they used to be called, the videos for Pandemonium and Mario, and trying to think, "Oh, that's good." Oh, yeah. Clearly she's heard Steve Vai. She's probably heard Ingray and all those things. But it's just an assault on the senses. It really is. There's not much respite on this. But there's not much respite, but it's to use that word again, it's like really quite uh tasteful in the same ways as well. While she can play lots of notes if she wants to, she doesn't always do that. Because quite a lot of instrumental guitar-based albums that I have tried, you think, oh God, really? Slow down. Just whoa, relax, calm down. Yeah, we know how many notes there are that you can play, and we know you're quick, but stop it. Stop it now. She does the occasionally, and Stephen, you might as well switch off at this point. There's um kind of like dragon voicey kind of whammy kind of. I know you don't. Sorry, but it's,
Eyes glaze over.
abs absolutely. But the riffs are there. Occasion sometimes kind of reminds me of like a non-vocal arch enemy, that sort of thing.
Nothing wrong with
Which
that.
absolutely not. And it's so much better than the other album that I've got with her name on it. So. Yeah, but yeah, really recommend it. And it's unusually an album that, in my mind, kind of has like really big brick wall kind of production that doesn't make me want to go, yeah, stop it. It's loud, but loud for a reason. And I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
have not heard that. I would like to hear that. I like all the stuff she's done with Alice, obviously, and I've seen her live before, and she's really good. She's really good. She's not just a pretty face, people.
just like you, Pete,
Thank you, Simon.
you're very welcome. I know where my bread's put, and I know that, if I do things, I'll get another box. So yeah,
There you go.
good
Which
times.
reminds me, I need to go through my box because there might be some goodies in there for you. All of a sudden, it's late in the year, and all of a sudden that box is getting full. I'm like, damn it, why does that always happen? So, because I haven't been able to send stuff to the other guy in quite a while, so it's
okay, moving on. Moving on. Now, if it was time for me to shut down earlier
like,
on,
what are they talking about? I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah. I think you can tune out now, Beiro. Actually, maybe both of you can tune out now because I have made a conscious effort to make my last three choices a different side that I very seldom get to talk about on the channel. So I'm going to talk about synthesizer music because I really like synth music, and I like it more and more the older I get. And I've kind of made an effort to explore stuff in that direction this year. But I'm going to talk about some classics to start with. I'm going to talk about Time Wind by Klaus Schulze from 1975. That's an album cover.
Yeah, it is.
It's weird and it's wacky. The music isn't quite as weird and wacky as that, to be fair. This was Schulze's fifth album, and it's kind of seen as one of the pillars of synth music. And who am I to argue? It's made up of two lengthy pieces, so lengthy really at the time that it was actually quite groundbreaking because obviously in '75 it came out on vinyl, and Beirut Return, which makes up the entirety of side one, is 30 minutes long, which back in those days was unheard of putting 30 minutes worth of music onto one side of vinyl, but he went and did it. It's 30 minutes and 25 seconds to be precise. And then you get Van Fried. That's a really bad pronunciation. We've got German beer inside me now, so we're all good. I must be an absolute native now. That makes up side two, and it's just a smidge shorter. And it is just dreamy, spacey synth music. Side one is driven by kind of beats, and there's really thick, layered synths on there, spacier vibe. But it's not about sheer technical ability. It's about quite a slow build. This is quite a slow build album, and it really is a mood album. I used to love listening to stuff like this. I have mentioned this before in the prog seat many years ago. When I used to do night shift, I used to finish well in the middle of the night because that's what people on night shift tend to do. And the world was off. Nobody else was around. You could walk from where I used to work all the way home in complete darkness and not encounter another human being, not encounter a vehicle, nothing. And music like this just made it into a different world entirely. And that was a kind of perfect scenario for listening to stuff like this. It's otherworldly and it took you to other worlds. This fancy version is a 2 CD one that came out in 2006. And it's got a bonus disc, and you think, the bonus disc from 1975 music is bound to be rubbish. It's not. It's as good as what's on the actual album itself. So, yeah, Time Wind by Klaus Schulze. And I'm going to go to the other big name before I do something a bit more odd for my final choice. I'm going to go to 1982. This is Jean-Michel Jarre. This is the Concerts in China. I know we tend not to do live albums, but there's no rules, so who cares? His live albums, I think, outstrip all of his studio stuff in general because he's just an artist that seems to, for something that could be just a guy pressing a button, which it really isn't when you actually see him live, it just lives and breathes in a different way when you go and see it. And for the Concerts in China, as it says on my nice hype sticker here, okay, there's actually 40 minutes worth of bespoke music on this. So it wasn't just a live album. He actually ignored Oxygen pretty much entirely, which was that seemed like madness at the time, but it really works. And some of the bespoke stuff on here, like Arpeggiator, have become kind of standards in the set. It really has a different feel. He was the first Western artist to go and play in China, and he reinterprets fishing junks at sunset, which he actually does with a Chinese orchestra. There's a full band playing on this, so he's got a drummer and various things like that. It's totally different from what he'd done up to this point. And the whole album, the live album and the live show, in between songs is joined together by kind of ambient pieces that he'd recorded as he went round China. So you hear people talking as the songs move from one into the other. And it becomes a different experience entirely. It's not just a live album, here's a song, here's some polite applause from the polite Chinese people. It just becomes, well, it is, it's that kind of polite, you only really get a cheer when he actually reinterprets fishing junks at sunset. You do wonder in 1982, sorry, if the Chinese even knew who he was when he turned up. And it was still very a political thing at that stage. So the theory goes that it was no accident that the first Westerner to go over and play live there had no lyrics. So therefore, there's nothing to subvert you with. But I would suggest that Jean-Michel Jarre's music could do that on its own. This is just a fabulous album. Yes, Simon.
Two things. Number one, as you know, I've been to China more than once. And one time I had my Billy Joel t-shirt on, and the waiter went, "Who's that?" And it's Billy Joel. It's like one of the most famous people on the... No, not a clue. Got a similar reaction from my Power Quest t-shirt as well.
Well, I understand.
It's good to be on a par somewhere, though.
Absolutely. I realized that have actually brought too much, and I was thinking which Jean-Michel Jarre album would I discuss if I had time, and clearly I don't because I brought too many albums. But I went with Cities in Concert, Houston Leon, purely because it's got a benediction by the Pope on it.
It does.
Not that many albums do, but it's he does break out the hits on this one, and they are just absolutely magnificent and soaring and life affirming.
I
It's an
have
artist
seen
I've often thought that I need to dive into a little bit because I think there's probably some stuff there I would like.
fabulous, but I think some of it you would really connect with, and some maybe not so much, Pete. So you would need to kind of. I would start with the stuff that's best known. Really, it's accessible without being overly commercial. It's become commercial because you'll probably know half of it because
Yeah.
it's used in so many different places. I've been fortunate enough to see him live. I saw him actually in the Royal Concert Hall in Glasgow, um, and they did the Oxygen album in its entirety, which with great visuals behind it. Because that album artwork is fantastic.
Is that a great
Um,
place to start the Oxygen album? Is that like a good place to start?
yes, absolutely, that's a fabulous album.
That's the one
Uh,
I thought about getting, and yeah.
yeah. And because they used all the vintage kit, all the vintage synths, so they were all plugged in and wires everywhere. I didn't realize they would have to come out first. He very pretentious. He was sitting. Well, there was an egg shape on the stage, and the stage was totally black, and all you could see was this white egg shape. And only when it turned round and it was Jean-Michel Jarre sitting like this did the whole place go wild. And you think that's how to make an entrance. He's already there. But anyway, they had to tune all these things up. So they couldn't, it didn't just come in and say, press the on button. They had to tune up all these walls of things. Anyway, I digress. I could talk about Jar at length. Love him, fantastic, and that would be a great choice, Simon. The live stuff is amazing, and I'd love to see him do one of these shows where he just takes over an entire city and makes it into the stage set. Fantastic.
All right. I'll have to figure out where to start. I see they have these, what do you call it? The original album classics. Although I don't think that one is on either one of these. Oh, yes, it
But
is. It is on
yeah,
one of
there's one that I think actually has got the picture of this twice on it because it's got it as both discs
Yes. Okay.
on it, I think, as well, I believe.
And there is there is a way to get volume one and volume two all in one thing. Oh, I may have to do
Ah,
that.
there you go.
That's probably the way to go, right? Okay. Oh, we'll do that off camera. Anyway. All right. So without further ado, yes, I know I said I was not going to talk about this album, but I'm going to talk about this album. Jeff Beck, Blow by Blow. There's just, like I said last episode, I was going to move away from talking about these albums that I've often stated were my favorite instrumental albums or fusion albums or whatnot and blah blah blah. And I was going to talk about other stuff, but then I started amassing a list of all the other stuff, and I'm like, but I like these albums more. So I'm like, you know what? That's the intent of the show to talk about albums that are really special to us. So this is a great album, whatever you call this album. It's an instrumental guitar album. It's Jeff Beck's version of fusion, I guess. There's funk on here, there's pop on here, there's, rock on here. It's like a little bit of everything, instrumental rock. And this was his first foray into doing instrumental music, perhaps inspired by the two bands that I previously just talked about, certainly the Mahavishnu Orchestra, certainly some of the stuff that Tommy Bolin was doing with Billy Cobham and Alphonse Mouzon. And it's a really, really great album. There are covers on here. There's some original stuff. So he does like, you know what I mean? He co-wrote some stuff with Max Middleton. She's a Woman by the Beatles is on here. You got Cause We've Ended as Lovers, which is his great interpretation of a Stevie Wonder classic. He also does Thelonious. And then you got like rock and stuff like Freeway Jam is on here. Scatterbrain is totally funky and crazy. Constipated Duck is really funky. There's just amazing stuff on here. It's produced by George Martin, of course, who worked with the Beatles for many years. There's like string arrangements on here. The musicians on here, Max Middleton on keyboards, Jeff on guitars, Phil Chen on bass, Richard Bailey on drums, and Stevie Wonder does a little bit of clavinet on one track. But it's an amazing sounding record, and the songs are great. The guitar playing is amazing, but he doesn't overplay. It's very tasty, like soloing and lines and riffs all throughout the album. And it's a timeless classic. And he's got other really great instrumental albums. The one that comes after this, Wired, is amazing too. This is my favorite though. It's just so well put together, so great and so classic and so different from other stuff that he was doing at the time. leading up to this. So that's my next pick. And then from there, I'm going to go with the Dixie Dregs. And the album is called What If? And this album came out in 1978 on the Capricorn label. Simon, we know the Capricorn label quite well, right? The home of many a Southern rock band. Uh, yeah, you're on mute.
I was having a coffee and do we do Phil Walden and etc. Yes, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes.
yeah, a lot of great Southern rock bands were on Capricorn. These guys are also from the South. However, they chose not to play music like Lynyrd Skynyrd and Marshall Tucker Band and all those other great bands from the South that perhaps were on or not or on other labels other than Capricorn. This band kind of took more of a instrumental rock, country, bluegrass, jazz, fusion, rock, funk, classical hybrid. So this whole idea of blended styles of music, everything's on here and under the sun, and a lot of progressive rock too as well. And a very cool band full of guys who met at music school at MIT. We got Steve Morse on guitar and banjo. We've got Mark Parrish on keyboards, Alan Sloan on the violin, Andy West on bass, and a guy named Rod Morgenstein on drums, who some of you may remember was in a band called Winger, right? Totally not like this at all. But this album is it's my favorite Dregs album. It's one of the great albums of this time period. And again, it's just so unique because you can't pigeonhole it into anything. It's not really a fusion album. It's not really a full-on electric, like instrumental rock album. It's just like it's all this other stuff. But it's got like recognizable, very catchy songs like Take It Off the Top and Ice Cakes. It's got the great proggy Epic Odyssey. It's got like kind of like country stuff is on here. You got Gina Lola Breakdown, which is totally crazy. You got Night Meets Light, which is dark and foreboding and kind of proggy. Great guitar playing from Morse. This, of course, is Steve Morse way before he did the Steve Morse Band and before he did Kansas and Deep Purple and so on and so forth. Great players on here, great playing. Again, it's more of an eclectic type of thing, but an amazing album nonetheless. They have other albums that maybe are a little bit more accessible, but I like this one because it has like a little bit of everything they do so well. And it's definitely the more challenging, musically speaking, I mean, all their albums are, but this to me is really, really deep and intense and a lot of really great variety on here. So yeah, What If by the great Dixie Dregs is my next choice.
Okay, we're on the very much on the home lap now, aren't we?
Yes.
I'm back on. I've stopped coughing. The crowd is going. Sorry, the crowd is going wild. Thank you. Go crowd. Go crowd. You're a crowd. You're not really a crowd. Hey kids, what's the greatest piece of music of all time?
You might ask.
I
Uh,
am.
Lightning
I'm
McQueen.
I'm about to give you the answer. Yes, yes, I am. The greatest piece of music of all time is Holst, The Planet Suite. Yes, yes, it is. It's incredible. I love Gustav Holst. I really do. I fanboyed and went to his house in Cheltenham and had my picture taken with his statue and stuff like that because I'm nothing if not deeply sad and deeply lonely. Mrs. Simon is just a figment of my imagination, but that's not important right now. Um, but what do you really need with your Holst? With all you can have all your classical versions all you want. You can get Professor Brian Cox to introduce um, big orchestral versions of it while he talks about the actual planets himself. But what we really need, kids, is a synthesizer based rendition. Am I right? Thank you.
Sure.
Glad we're all on the same page. And obviously that's going to come from Japan, isn't it? Yeah. So this is Tomita. I realized that I realized that I've got way more Tomita than I should have. I really, I really do. I can actually reach my Tomita albums, which is good. They are so good. Previously I was talking about how the Hergest Ridge album and Camels sound a bit like, ooh, that's a bit weird and a bit 70s. This is great, but it with there are just bits where he goes, and you think, well, that's a bit weird. but it just kind of like just adds to the happy joyness. Is there anything more heavy metal than Mars, the Bringer of War? Is there? I don't think there is. But you go in there and it's going, and you're thinking, oh God, the aliens are coming. They're all going to get us. Mars is on fire and all that stuff. And then something goes,
It contains the mighty tritone. It is heavy metal, right?
absolutely. This is just so good, and it's one of those albums that has a backstory that Holst's daughter said, no, that's just not happening. You're taking the piss, and for a while it was kind of like not really a thing, but as an actual artist, to me it's great because um, it has this tendency to kind of like list all his stuff. So on, for instance, Snowflakes Dancing he's got the Moog synthesizer, 914 extended range fixed filter bank. Just use one of those. La Lazy sod. The 904 A voltage controlled low pass filter. Two of those. Yeah, he was really rock. And the 902 voltage controlled amplifier, he's got five of those rocking on this one. But this is just great. It's a great piece of music, and um, it really kind of like adds to the. I heard this one. I heard the Planets when I was young. It's one of my mum's favorite kind of things, and it really kind of like adds to the happy joyness of the whole thing. Even though occasionally it just goes wee for no real reason other than the fact that he could, and broadening your mind and your horizons and playing around with things, that is so much better than, okay, we've got three chords. Let's, pop stuff out, shall we? It's just really, 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 really good. And I'm even quite liking the
Yeah.
cover. I like it. I just like
Am
everything
I
about it.
imagining it, or have you shown that album before on this?
The Bray Dog has never ever mentioned his love of synthesizer based
No, huh?
music.
Okay, I could have sworn you pulled that out at some point in one episode at some point down the line. No, okay.
Let's be honest, it's one of the reasons why I thought let's do some instrumental music.
You wanted that excuse to talk about it. Okay, fair enough.
I do, and it's just so good, so good.
I think you might be confusing that album cover with the cover for SpaceX Bomber by Bow Wow that I showed quite some time ago.
That could be, Steve. That could be. That could
Because they're
look very
totally
similar.
different and yet quite similar.
Yeah, that could be what I'm thinking. That could be what I'm thinking. Because people show me a lot of album covers in the history of this show. I've seen them all. So I do get confused from time to time.
There you go. That's a fascinating pick, Bray Dog, because that is one of those artists that I have seen many times whilst doing this. And go, oh, that looks decidedly interesting. I've
Yeah,
never heard, I've never heard a note by. So by the fact that I believe you can pick these albums up for roughly sixpence, I may actually have to delve into that. You've definitely got me intrigued. So there you go. It also says a little bit me that when you said the best thing ever written, and I thought instrumental music is definitely the theme from Grandstand. But anyway, let's move along. Okay.
or Sports Night,
Or sports or superstars. But anyway,
or Pop Black.
or the darts. Yeah. Anyway, so moving swiftly along. Okay. So modern synthesizer music, I know very little about. Okay, and it's been fascinating. I've said this to quite a few people in recent times that when I read reviews or press releases or whatever it is for rock bands or metal acts or whatever, there's a code. You go through and you read a reference to it and it will say, sounds like, I don't know, Taiketo from 19 whatever. And you think, okay, I might like that. Do you know? With synth music, I know nothing. I don't know what the code is. I don't know what it is. So it took something to hook me. Okay. I'm not making this stuff up. This is by a band called the Warrington Runcorn Development Plan. Okay. And and this album is called The Nation's Most Central Location, and it was released in 2023 through the Castles in Space label. Okay. It looks remarkably 70s, kind of, or 60s or 50s or in around there. Okay. And it's a one man electronic music project created by Gordon Chapman Fox, this gentleman down here. And to continue the theme of I'm not making this stuff up, the concept behind Warrington Runcorn Development Plan, who I will never call WRDP, okay, is, and you need to be UK based to have a Vegas idea what I'm about to talk about here, is new towns, okay? So this is a kind of post-war thing that was meant to revive areas, and the whole point was that you built new towns and you made them vibrant, you made them happening, and you created jobs there, and it was a great beacon for hope. It was meant to be the future, and ultimately, in most people's opinions, because I'm sure that some people watching will disagree, they failed. And it's kind of fallen into a kind of more despair than anything else. And the music and the band are inspired by the place that Gordon Chapman Fox lived and grew up, which was indeed Warrington Runcorn. And it explores the kind of divide between the north and the south of the UK. It kind of leans into the empty promises. There are some voice samples and various things across these from maybe even political statements and various things, all about kind of regional urban development. How boring does this sound? This hooked me in. I thought this really sounds quite dark and nuanced, and it kind of moves. The music moves from hope through despair. It's memorable and it's inspirational, and yet it is really quite bleak in many ways. You can hear some Vangelis in there. You can hear some Tangerine Dream in there. One of the best descriptions that I've read of the music here is it's retro futuristic. So it kind of means if you were to go back 20, 30 years, this would sound like people thought the future would kind of sound like, because this is what people thought the future would look like. And as I'll maybe divulge a little bit more about in a couple of weeks' time or 2 shows' time, they've been my discovery of the year, realistically. I will be honest enough to say that I went to see the Warrington Runcorn Development Plan live earlier this year, and that was an experience. I'd never seen one guy standing on the stage going, basically.
I don't think
And
I've ever seen that either. Yeah.
I mean, he gets into it. There's lots of this on the go as well. And it was in a very small venue in Edinburgh. There was lots of dry ice, lots of lights. There were certain points where there was no real indication there was anyone else there other than the crowd. It was a very strange experience. I absolutely adored it because it was very similar to the experience I was talking about listening to music at night, walking home. It didn't really matter what else was going on, what else was happening. I went with my
You heard
eldest
the music,
daughter.
right? The music's
Yeah,
all that matters.
I went with my eldest daughter, and I will be honest enough to say that when we left, I said, "Oh, that was amazing. What did you think?" And her reply was, "Well, I'm glad I've done it. I don't know if I'd do it again."
Not exactly positive praise.
So there's a yin and a yang to that story
It's
because
not
I
that's not for everybody. Yeah, it's for sure.
absolutely, because he played Glasgow the night before, and I came out thinking, "Oh, why did I not just do both?" Because it was just such an otherworldly, moving experience that I've really deeply gotten into that kind of thing. So yes,
And she'd
um,
probably say, "Really, you wanted to do that twice in the span of a couple of
yeah,
days?"
she was a little bit kinder than that, but that's what her face said. And in the spirit of Uncle Simon, it's also fabulously. It's actually light blue. It looks white on the screen, but there you go. I think it's fascinating that all these digital artists only ever make physical copy on analog. There you go. Because finding the stuff on CD is virtually impossible. But yes, the Warrington Runcorn Newtown Development Plan. Even I've forgotten all the words that are in this.
Yeah, it gets my vote for the most ridiculous name of the year, but okay, it doesn't really matter. It's yeah.
Love it. I just love the whole aesthetic of the whole thing. I mean, it was my album was hand packed. I got a little note to say it was packed by Nina and all this kind of stuff, and it's just love it to bits. Yes, that's me.
Very cool. All right, so I'm going to pose a question to our people watching in the chat right now. And of course, right now there is nobody in the chat when we're taping this, but yeah, but when we're going live premiere, uh, who's the artist that I have not mentioned yet today? Actually, no, I did mention him twice today, but have not mentioned him in a selection. I'll wait. Gary Joyce, a couple of you, Webb, come on. Who have I not talked about yet today? George, I know knows because George knows everything. Of course, the artist who I have not mentioned, who is beloved by me. I listen to him all the time, and I have such a breadth of material to choose from whenever I'm in the mood to hear him. However, and this album isn't, if I look back on my years of being a fan of his music, there have been many points in my life where this album is my favorite album by him. For a bunch of years in recent times, it wasn't, but it's now moved back into the number one spot. I could really pick anything because there's so many eras in his music, but I'm going to go with his album from 1970, and that is Miles Davis, Bitches Brew. I've been on a ridiculous bitches brew kick ever since I recently read a book that was sent to me by an author who wrote a whole book on bitches brew about this whole period in Miles Davis's career and specifically this album and the recording of it, the lineup, the music, blah 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 blah. And I've just been like immersing myself once again into this great album. So it's often noted as the first ever like jazz fusion album where jazz and rock really collide, but it's really a lot more than that. It's got serious funk on it. It's avant-garde. It's got like a million great musicians that are known from this time period who have gone on to do lots of other things. Most notably, you got Wayne Shorter plays saxophone on here. Of course, Wayne Shorter played with Miles for a bunch of the 60s, played with the Jazz Messengers, then went on to form Weather Report with Joe Zawinul on electric piano, who's also on this album. Chick Corea is on this record. Dave Holland is on this record. Lenny White, who I mentioned with Return to Forever, is on this album. We've got Larry Young is on this album. We've got Jack DeJohnette, who just passed away, is on this record. You've got, the Who's Who. Harvey Brooks is on here. Bernie Maupin's on here. I can go on and on. There's all sorts of people who played on here. Herbie Hancock does a little bit of stuff on here. We've got Billy Cobham is on here. Airto Moreira, all sorts of very, very notable people from the fusion scene and the jazz scene of the 60s are on this record. And it's basically what happened here is Miles assembled all these musicians in these various sessions in New York City over the course of a weekend. And it was October 19th through the 21st, 1969. And they just recorded all these like gargantuan long jams. And then basically Teo Macero, who's the producer who worked with Miles exclusively around this time period, basically took all these recordings and basically went into the studio and just did a splice and dice thing. And he edited and put together things. And you have the Bitches Brew album, which came out, which just consisted of basically four long tracks, across like, an hour's worth of music. It was a double album and actually close to 90 minutes. And it's just amazing. It's funky, it's tribal, it's jazzy, it rocks. You got McLaughlin on guitars on here. I forgot to mention him before. He's on here as well. Thunderous rhythms, Miles doing stuff on the trumpet that you never really heard before. It's amazing music. It's definitely of its time, but timeless. And when you hear it the first time, the first thing you say is like, what the hell am I listening to? And then you just can't stop listening to it. And you can't get it out of your head. It's so good. And and you feel it like right in your very soul. I remember the first time someone made me a cassette copy of their LP of this. It was early. It was early on, not too long after I discovered Mahavishnu Orchestra and all that other stuff. Like, you got to listen to Miles. You got to say it like your mom's, got to listen to Miles, right? And I remember the first time I played this cassette, I was kind of like, wow. It's like I feel like, and I've said this before, I feel like I'm like all alone in the jungles of Africa or like a rainforest somewhere, and there's like crazy shit going on everywhere. You don't know where to go, which way you're headed, and every step of the way you're afraid for your life. But yet at the same time, you're like, oh, but that's like oddly sexy and kind of like, alluring, right? It's an amazing, amazing album. And have either of you heard this record?
Yes, I have a double CD version of this, and it's one of those albums that I could put on tomorrow and think, wow, it's amazing. And I could put it on the day after that and go, it's just a garbled mess.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yes.
And I've never reconciled that. I don't hate it. I don't love it. There are times where I connect, and half an hour later, I think, what is this nonsense? It's fascinating.
Yeah, it totally is that. There are times I have put this on and been kind of like, why do I love this so much? Because it's just noisy and raucous and it's not melodic. And other times I'm just kind of like swept away by it.
Yep.
It's so good.
That's exactly what it is. It's a fascinating album to listen to because it never allows you to lock in. You think there's a groove and you think there's a thing and it's fleeting and it's gone. And then the next you listen to it and it seems to go on forever. It never impacts you the same way twice. And usually that you say that about albums you absolutely adore. And I can't tell you that I adore it because I've never managed to connect with it in that way, but it's a fascinating listen nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah, I find this whole period in Miles's career like really, really amazing. And because he would go from here to Jack Johnson, and you got stuff like On the Corner and Big Fun and Agartha and all these other albums that are just like these weird kind of jazzy, funky, rocky things, like avant-garde stuff that just defy categorization. And they're oddly noisy and chaotic, but yet somehow I can't get away from them. Just so
Yeah.
good. And so
It's
different
funny.
than the stuff he did beforehand, like stuff
Yeah.
in the 60s and 50s, which is straight up jazz. And all the jazz purists, most of them hated this stuff, absolutely hated it. But this caught the attention of like the whole psychedelic scene because it was so different and so out there. And people, young people who were into rock music at the time, loved this stuff. And that's why they would throw Miles Davis on bills with like, you know, Led Zeppelin and the Grateful Dead and all this other stuff at the time, the stuff from the San Francisco scene and all that. You'd see Miles Davis playing with all these rock bands. Like, why? Because like rock fans in the hippie scene were totally getting into this because it was so different, so out there.
Funny because I think that music like this is often described as experimental. And I find that a lot of music that's described as experimental as anything but. It's actually quite calculated. And it's definitely, there's been a plan, you go in with a plan, and this is what we're going to do, and that's what we're going to sound like, and it's going to do this, and it's going to do that. It's going to be wild and wacky, but and people call it experimental because it's different and difficult to categorize. This is experimental in a different way, I think, because I think what happened happened. This is just how it came out. It's not, I don't think there's a massive plan that went into this. I don't think it was, we're going to do this here and then that there and then this here and then we'll
Um,
move to this and go to that.
these are all, most of these
It
albums were all
feels
just
like it.
jams. They're
Like,
just
yeah,
jams.
it just runs past you. So
Yeah.
as I say, I can't love it, and I never will. It is a fascinating listen.
Yeah. There are I've been listening to a ton of live Miles stuff because we're getting ready to do a whole Miles Davis live recording show for Talking Jazz on the channel. And there is one from like the Fillmore, this is the Fillmore East or the Fillmore West, I think Fillmore West from like a couple of years after this in San Francisco. And it's like 2 hours of just these crazy jams that seemingly go nowhere, but yet they take you to places you've never been before. And I was listening to it again recently in the car over the span of a couple of days. And I hadn't heard it in a couple of years. And I'm just kind of, I just, half the time I'm driving and I'm kind of like, I feel like I got to pull over because I'm just like so getting into this stuff. And it's taking me to places that isn't the road where I'm supposed to be paying attention to, right? And it's just like, it's just crazy stuff. And that's what they did. They just jammed. And like these musicians were so good that they would go, you'd have, the bass player and the drummer would go off in one direction, the keyboard players are doing this, and then Miles would go over the top, and somehow they would meet somewhere, and then they would all go off in the different directions again. And like, so to some people, this is just a chaotic mess. But to other people, you get sucked in and you can't stop listening. And you just want to be taken to wherever they're going to take you, and you're along for the ride. So it's not for everybody. Grant, I totally get that because I've had a lot of people tell me over the years that they can't listen to Bitches Brew at all. They're like, give me the old structured, jazz stuff from Miles over this mess any day. And I'm like, I like this mess a lot, like a lot. So anyway, Simon's never heard this album. I can tell by that look. I don't this
I feel like Simon will never hear this record as well.
I don't know if this is really your cup of tea.
I feel like it doesn't sound like he's bringing the funsies.
No,
All I
No.
can
no,
tell you,
no.
Simon, is I would be very curious if you would give it one listen, and I would really love to hear what you think.
I'm much more likely to go to Warrington Runcorn. I live vaguely near there. I know there's an IKEA, so much more like I have actually looked it up while you've been talking. So yeah, I'll tell you what. I will give. I'm going on holiday. I'll give Bitches Brew one listen and let you know.
Okay, I would love to hear.
It
Either way,
spoils my
whether you love it or
holiday
hate it, I would love to hear what you have to say.
because right now, I'm in the Canary Islands.
Yes.
I know.
But
I'll let.
I will say this. I think Bitches Brew would go great in the Canary Islands, more so than the Snow Goose. My personal opinion.
I'm going to suggest, and let not go any further than this because we're going on all night here. Okay, I would suggest that Simon will listen to it and decide that it fits much more firmly into a different show that we did some time ago called turn that shit
Oh,
off.
that's shit. Oh, yeah.
Because it does it perfectly
You might
fits
be
into that.
correct there.
Whether I like it or not, this is the sort of thing I could put on. I could imagine anyone I know going, "What are you doing?"
You might be correct there. You might be correct. But I'm just so curious because this is one of those albums that I always recommend to almost anybody I come in contact with, and I've heard the gamut of different opinions on it. So I love to hear what people think of stuff like this because it's so like off the beaten path from what most people listen to, unless you're like really into this sort of thing, obviously. But yeah,
I'll tell you what. The Bray Dog is downloading this 7 songs for 1 hour and 34 minutes. Are you taking the what the heck?
I'm going to I'm
long.
going to predict at this stage that the Bray Dog will lie when he tells you he got all the way through
Yeah.
it.
I mean
Just
that
get
that
just get
well
through Miles
covers it.
Runs the Voodoo Down. I'd be happy if you just listen to that piece. That's because that's like one of my
Which
favorites.
one? Mal runs the video. Okay, it's downloaded. It's going on the dog walk tomorrow morning.
Oh wow, that's going to make for a weird dog walk. I have to say, I
You
will
know what
put
would
that.
surprise the hell out of me if we get a video tomorrow morning from him and he's listening to that song and there he is walking the dogs and he's grooving down the street and he's telling
I
that would
was going
really
to say, I'll be surprised if we get a video from him tomorrow where he's been walking the dogs and passed out.
yeah, either that or he smashed his player on the ground and be like no more of this, that's it. Yep.
I'll let you know next
Okay,
time.
I'm curious. I can't wait. This is going to be exciting. So
Well, it fits in perfectly with what we're going to do in 2 weeks' time. Because what we're going to do in 2 weeks' time is we're heading into December and we're kind of heading towards the old Christmas and all that kind of malarkey. So it's a bit of knockabout fun. We are going to look at, and I've written down 30, okay, and this is totally at my discretion as to whether I think this is a band's biggest song or not, and I don't care who complains and who doesn't. But the idea that we're going to do in 2 weeks' time is this is a band's biggest hit or the best song, the best known song. Is it great or is it shit? And that is what we're going to do. So
So
obviously
it's
the
great
Bray
because Simon and I don't need to do any homework for
Dog,
next time.
no homework at all. The Bray Dog and Pete don't know what I'm going to bring. And as I say, it's totally arbitrary. I've decided which song we're going to discuss. I have got a reason for which one I'm bringing for each band. I've done 30. Seeing how long we've managed to speak about however many albums tonight, there's no way we're going to do 30, but I've done 30 just to be on the safe side. So that's what we're going to do in 2 weeks'
Hopefully,
time.
you're not going to pick like 15 random things from the UK that I have no clue
Oh, no,
about.
no, no.
Although that might be kind of funny, but it's
No, the idea is that these are big bands
okay. All right.
and big songs. I'm not promising that we all like these bands,
Oh, that does.
but they all fit within the rock metal genre.
Okay.
And I would suggest that in one shape or form, everybody watching will at least have heard of the song we're talking about. Okay, that's the theory because these are big hits. These are big songs. And is it that band's best song? Is that the song that everyone should know? Because it is the song that they do know.
And this is cool because I think the audience can play along.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think for the next episode, everybody, you're not, and I like Simon and I are not going to know these songs ahead of time, so neither are you. So don't even ask. But everybody should come with like a nice piece of paper or however you do or however you do this, and be prepared to play along, and then post your reactions to these songs in the comments of that episode. Right? That's how
And
it
we'll
should.
get as far as we get because I say I've done 30. There's no way we're going to get through 30 because we kind of talk.
We do that. Be prepared for a 2 hour episode, folks.
No, no, no. If we're going to do that, we'll do two. Okay.
That's happened before. It's like, all right, this episode is getting out of control. Maybe we should do a two-parter here. So yeah, okay. All right, well, that sounds like fun. I can't wait for that. That'll be good. So that's coming up in just 2 weeks, folks. So stay tuned for that. And that will be, do you know what date what's the air date on that, Stephen?
Well, we record on 13th, the 13th of December. I think that is correct. I don't have a calendar to hand.
Okay.
Sounds a bit right.
Sounds good. All right. So we'll bring that to you in 2 weeks' time. So stay tuned for that and more here on the channel. This is on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Please list your 5 favorite instrumental albums, any genre, non-soundtrack, down in the comments below. And we'll see you next time here on the UK Connection. For Simon Bray and Steven Reid, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching us here. Good day, good night, good afternoon, everybody, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.